Welcome to the exciting world of the movies.
Hello, retro movie lovers, and welcome back to the Movie Graveyard. I'm so excited because joining me for his first foray into the graveyard of 2020, I haven't talked to this gentleman since 2019, it's been that long. The one, the only, actually one of the very earliest grave diggers here on the Movie Graveyard, Trev3K. Trev, what's going on, man?
How's it going, Goat? The truth is that we're not even that far into 2020, so it just feels like we're like 18 years into 2020.
Oh,
That's
it does. We're like living like a dog years version of 2020. It is some shit. But either way, we won't bog you fellas down with that. Most of you will probably be listening to this in 5 years anyway, when this whole thing is past, and we won't ever think about it again. But But yeah, for now, we're rolling with the classic movies. Trev hit me up. You know, one of the titles he suggested, I was like, oh, I'm all about that because this is one of my favorite movies from my youth. And even my adulthood, because I've never stopped watching this movie since it very first came out. Obviously, we're talking about the one, the only New Line Cinema classic, The Hidden. So we'll go ahead and get it rolling. Trev's rolling off the DVD. I'm rolling off the Blu-ray. They both seem to have the same, format, time markers, or whatever. We have it paused at the 10-second mark on the disc. That's right after the New Line Cinema film logo. And when you hit play, the opening title should start up. So, are you ready with remote in hand, Trev?
I am indeed.
Okay, I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, go. When I say go, let's hit play on the remote. All right, everybody. 1, 2, 3, go. All right, we're rolling. Our discs are spinning.
And I just want to clarify, I'm not just watching a DVD, I'm watching a snapper case DVD, so you know it's real special.
As far as I'm concerned, that's kind of the best kind of DVD case, because it's like, the ones that came later, the plastic ones, that's like too new. You want to know you're rolling with pure vintage 1998 material when you roll out a DVD in 2020, I feel. So here we have the... I have to say, a lot of movies do like the opening, surveillance camera, security footage shit, and it always looks fake. This is like the only movie I can think of offhand where it actually looks like a legit security camera. Like, the video is not like too annoying on your eyes to watch, but it's clearly grainy and video-ish.
Yeah, and then the green title is offset against it really well too.
Yeah, big time. And then the actual title of the movie, when that came up, like, you don't even really know what it is why, because you don't know that character yet. But like inside the titles was one of those picture-in-picture type things they used to do back in the day, and it was a quick slow motion glimpse of Kyle MacLachlan.
Mm-hmm. I kind of missed that as like a title treatment, right? The footage inside the letters.
Oh yeah, like especially if it's like that was just a picture of a guy, but like sometimes when it's like a really gruesome or gory image inside the letters, I love that.
Yeah.
So here we have, we're watching, like, you don't really know who to watch at the beginning of this tape, and then this guy in a trench coat just pulls out a shotgun and starts shooting people. And I gotta say, like, you would see this type of sequence, like the security cam shit, like, done now just to save money, but it's actually really effective. Like, just this, like, one camera shot thing. It is,
and then this moment where he comes to the camera and smiles is, like, actually pretty chilling,
It is. It's not even, like, shitty horror movie chilling. It blurs that line of, like, uncanny reality. And then we cut to, obviously, the 35mm film.
I believe, I might be wrong about this, but just by the way it looks, is this the same bank that they come out of in Heat and have like the shootout?
I didn't think about that, but it could be. I was about to say, I think it's the same bank that is featured in some wide shots in Night of the Comet, but I could be wrong about that. But it looks like the same one in downtown LA, that big Wells Fargo down there.
Yeah.
So we have this guy, he just robbed the bank. Now he's going to peel off in a Ferrari. And, like, I have to say, like, I want to give this movie props where it deserves. It's some good extras, and, like, I'm sure this is a fairly low-budget movie. Like, I don't know really how they, like, were able to stop traffic like this, to get this good enough.
Yeah, shut down. I was thinking that the other night, too, when I rewatched it. Just, like, it's a great opening, right? Because it's you set a sense of big scale right away that not all of the rest of the movie has. But if you can, like, trick your audience into thinking a movie's big in the first 5 minutes, then they'll go with you pretty far. They'll stick with you.
And it's like a real trope now to start any type of science fiction, horror, action, anything out with like a scene like, like before we bore you with the story type thing, let's just get you into some kind of quick scare, some kind of quick action scene. And you're right, this is actually probably most likely, like, you don't think about it, but like this is definitely the biggest budget like action scene in the film. But like it kind of works because it draws you in, but at the same time, like, it works because the rest of the movie is more focused on, like, the characters and the story. So it kind of weird way works, like you said, opening it up with this large scale.
Well, it also works because the thing that's great about this too, and like like the particular appeal of it is that if you go into this movie not knowing what it is, there's nothing about the scene that tells you what genre this movie is or anything. If you expect to see an action movie start with a scene like this, but this takes a bit to even get to any sci-fi elements, and so at this point we're still just in kind of like a fun crime caper, right?
Right. And this is one of those movies, like, probably like 5, 7, 10 years ago, I started seeing clips of this show up as, like, like almost like a viral meme of like, oh, this is how crazy 80s movies were, you know what I mean? But it's like a great chase through MacArthur Park and everything. The cop cars versus a Ferrari. This Ferrari's getting banged up. And I know Jack Shoulder, and I'm really glad he did, because, like, the Ferrari, like, lent so much production value to this movie, because originally the producers wanted to cheap out and I think get like a Corvette or something, and like he really fought to get a Ferrari.
This is great.
Yeah, it's almost like a Roger Corman death race type moment where he runs over the guy in the wheelchair. Yeah,
and we should point out, so I'm sure probably a lot of people have come to this movie over the years primarily because of Kyle MacLachlan being the star. But if that's the case for Twin Peaks fans who may come for that, the guy driving the car, the criminal that we're following, is Chris Mulkey, who is also from Twin Peaks, played Hank Jennings. So they never interact in this film, but still a little bit of a Twin Peaks, not even a reunion because this is before Twin Peaks. But
I know, and like it's kind of crazy. Like, I don't know how you feel with this, but to me, like, Chris Mulkey was like the prototype Bryan Cranston. When Bryan Cranston started popping up and stuff, I was like, man, that guy reminds me of Chris Mulkey. It was weird.
He could have been. Now, this is great because the other night when I was watching it, I hadn't seen it in a long time. And I was like, oh, my God, you never see, like, the car driving through a plate, like a glass plate that people are carrying, unless it's, like, a parody anymore.
Right.
And for a moment, I couldn't believe they're going to just do it unironically, but it goes the extra distance where he doesn't touch the plate, but he completely bowls over the one guy on the side.
Yeah, like
so I like that they added that little extra beat to it.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, this wasn't the first movie to do the glass plate bit. I'm sure that's probably been around forever and ever. But I mean, this was a while ago, so I wonder how much of a cliche it really even was back then.
Yeah.
Because I mean, this movie does have a little bit of a sense of humor, but it's really not that tongue in cheek overall.
I think it's the perfect kind of sense of humor, right? Where it knows the concept is goofy and it plays the concept straight, knowing that it's going to be funny anyways, right? To a certain degree.
Right. Now here we have Chris Mulkey driving the Ferrari. Now it's all shot up, blood splatter. Well, I guess I should say more crashed up. I don't think they've really shot it up yet. But he's running into a police blockade of just nonstop cop cars, and I think this movie, in all honesty, is like a legit masterpiece. Like, it has a true B movie concept. But, like, if you look at, like, the editing, everything, the cinematography and editing, like, everything really holds up in this movie. And I think this is, like, a great, little minute of tension as he's going towards the police blockade. And we get introduced to all, pretty much, like, most of the main cops here. Michael Nuri, Edo Ross,
Richard Brooks.
Yeah, very early cameo from, I won't say cameo, but early supporting role from Richard Brooks.
Yeah. And Edo Ross, of course, a face in a lot of like 80s and early 90s films. So he's very recognized. That's the thing I was thinking too, watching this, is like, you and I have obviously watched a lot of 80s movies for this podcast, and I'm hard pressed to think of another one that's as full of kind of character actor faces as this one is. This one is really populated by a lot of, oh, look, it's that guy,
Yeah. Yeah, we got so many cameos to point out along the way as this film goes on. Yeah, I like he gets out of the car all shot a bunch of times, still trying to like get away with the money, but he just laughs and they shoot and they blow up the car. Great car explosion, great stunt.
Mm-hmm. Although I think that's a little odd moment where he's just standing there and they all shoot, but for somehow all three of them miss him, but they hit the car right behind him instead.
That's true.
The LAPD hires from the same place that gets the stormtroopers for their marksmen, I guess.
Yeah. you're you're in a good spot if you're Mulkey, because you're not going to take too many more bullet hits, but at the same time you don't want to be standing in front of a highly explosive, probably leaky gasoline car.
Yeah.
So like one little second that happened a couple minutes ago was we introduced Michael Nuri. He was talking to Chris Mulkey's neighbor, and they were like kind of setting up the pattern that these ordinary citizens are going on these like wild crime sprees, and like they don't know why. And like I think that was a great hook. There's a lot of parallels. Like as much as this movie is not like the Terminator, there's a lot of parallels like to how it is, and I don't know how intentional that was or wasn't at the time. But I love it. Like to me, it like totally scratches like the kind of Terminator itch. And, the idea of the Terminator being that some random faceless person could, like, walk up to you and, shoot you for, no reason, for something you haven't even done yet. Whereas, like, this movie is kind of like some random faceless, like, citizen might be on a crime spree and, like, you just might get caught up in it. Because there's compared to especially, like, movies now, Trev, there is a lot of collateral damage victims in this film.
Yeah. Now here we have another cameo. We see that he's the chief, I think, is either like the police, like the lieutenant for the department or whatever, is of course Clu Gulager.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny too, because like Clu was like definitely rolling with the New Line Cinema at this point. Just coming off Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
Which of course was also directed by Jack Shoulder. Yeah. So I'm guessing they just really got along.
And Clu, like, it really is a cameo, because like that little tiny scene there where he was talking to the lieutenant, and then like the one scene later he like literally walks into kind of like a scene and walks out. But for the most part, like that's really all you get that I'm thinking off the top of my head from Clu Gulager. And the guy I was just gonna say, the guy that plays the lieutenant is very kind of odd, but he's very memorable. Kind of heavy set guy.
It's pretty crazy now to watch this and just how baby-faced Kyle MacLachlan is.
Yeah.
And it's funny because he's, playing an FBI agent in this. Of course, we'll get to who he really is later. But, of course, a couple of years after this, he would play his most famous character, another FBI agent. But he really aged up a lot. And that was like 2 or 3 years to where he looks fairly age-appropriate in Twin Peaks. And here, he just looks too young to be an FBI agent.
Yeah. And it's just, I'm just wondering how much of it, and I'm sure probably 100% of the casting was just, they were able to get him coming straight off of, kind of the critical success of Blue Velvet. But you got to think, like, for the most part, I guess he was in Dune before that too, but Blue Velvet was really where people actually start to really like him, and because he I don't know what to say about Kyle MacLachlan's acting. I like him. I'm a huge fan of him, but he has like a different style where like I enjoy him in a lot of shit, but then when you read the reviews, a lot of times he gets slammed. Like he got slammed a lot.
Yeah, I feel like it's all...
I was just going to say, he got slammed a lot, particularly for Dune and Showgirls, and I thought he was perfectly fine in both those movies. So
he was pretty green in Dune, but I don't know if it was like overly distracting. That's not that movie's problem, But I think he's one of those actors who it took a long time for people to kind of get on his wavelength, because I think now you see a lot of like Kyle MacLachlan appreciation. It feels like it just took people time to like catch up to him.
Before I bailed on the show, he was my favorite thing about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
He was pretty great. Like that's like I remember he totally got like just went over the top and had went full Nicolas Cage in that performance. But I think also people really got into him, and like when he started to get to show more of his comedic side in things like Portlandia and How I Met Your Mother, and then just of course the range he had in the latest version of Twin Peaks. So I'm glad he's enjoying like a late career resurgence.
Yeah, he definitely deserves it, and I liked a lot of the stuff that they had in the cop station with Richard Brooks and O'Neill. Just quick shots of them like shooting, paper balls, like basketballs in the basket, and then how Michael Nuri, who plays Sergeant Beck or whatever he is, Goat or Detective Beck, I should say, goes and puts the paperwork on the nerdy guys. That's like, there's a lot of like little moments that you don't see in movies now that build the camaraderie in like a very short amount of time between the cops.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the money shot, Trev. What do you think of this?
It's pretty great. It's like they're actually good practical effects. Like the other thing that's amazing about it is we've seen this done in a lot of films, And I think very often, when an alien being is penetrating someone, it's usually like a very little thing. And I love how horrifying this one is in just the size of it. Yeah, like the idea of having that go into your throat. It's just this gigantic thing. And the little like gooey, clear tendrils that come out of the throat last, that's the great like coup de grace to that.
Yeah, so basically Mulkey, he's all burned up at this point from the explosion. His body's dying, so he's in a coma in the hospital. They think he's going to die within a few hours, so he gets up and transfers this giant alien. I'd say it's about the size of a house cat, wouldn't you say, Trev?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, it comes out of his throat. Two great, like, the way they mix the real actors with the dummies of the giant, alien thing going down the throat. It's great. Like, I remember being so impressed by that as a kid. I mean, I'm still impressed. Like, I look forward to that scene every time. I totally forget this one doctor, the older guy in the middle, but I looked up his name the other night, and I didn't recognize his name, but I recognize this guy as a character actor a lot, too. I remember on the commentary, Jack Shoulder thought the two extras in that scene, the young black doctor and the nurse, he thought they were really bad, but I didn't think they were that bad. Like, I even rewatched it closely the other night, and I didn't think it was bad at all.
Mm-hmm.
But the scene where they're trying to resuscitate him, I don't know, there's like a couple little scenes every now and then, like, this movie, like, it dips from, like, it sometimes feeling like an A-list picture to being a B-list picture, but I kind of like that about it.
Yeah, and actually I think it's often at its best when it's in the B movie territory.
Yeah.
Man, this is good. Like, I'm just looking at this place and thinking how cool a record store this looks like.
Yeah, and like, I got curious about it. You can't see it too good here, but later on when they pull up, I looked it up. This is actually a real record store chain that it started in New York, but I guess this was a LA location. It's actually called Bleecker Bob's Records. Mm-hmm. It was like a New York City staple just until I think 2 years ago finally closed down when the owner, Bleecker Bob, that wasn't his real name. His real name was something else, but he passed away, I guess.
Now we should talk about this performance because it's not like me. This is going to sound silly to say considering he doesn't do much, I suppose. But this actor is named William Boyett, playing the new host of the Alien, and it's actually one of my favorite performances in the movie. Yeah, and partly that might just be I think Jack Shoulder was really good at casting faces. I think because there's something about this guy that the movie doesn't ask much of him other than to have this kind of like blank look on his face and then go on this murderous spree that you wouldn't expect from an old looking middle-aged guy.
Yeah.
But like the kind of little grins he gets and the pure joy he gets and the dichotomy of that actually works really well.
I agree. Mulkey was kind of my favorite of the alien actors, but this one guy actually might be the best because I think maybe screen-wise he might be the actor who portrays the alien the longest in the film. Like, yeah, he's in it for
I think people tend to remember Claudia Christian the most for other obvious reasons. Yeah.
But yeah, he's great, and what's kind of great too, like again, just more genius writing. Yeah, Jonathan P. Miller is this old guy's name. But some of the genius writing was he's a guy who he was in the hospital. He just had a massive coronary, I believe, and he also has severe gastrointestinal issues. So like this body is like really like half dead already that the alien gets into, and as we go along, we'll kind of point out some of the cool shit that happens because of it. Some gross stuff too, but again, I just thought it was good little bit of writing or whatever. Like you really don't see that. Like you said, there's been like a lot of these bad guy jumping body movies. Sometimes it's a alien, sometimes it's like a horror thing, like Jason Goes to Hell. Sometimes it's like a spiritual demon thing, like what was that movie, Fallen, with Denzel Washington. But I think this movie actually, unless there's some other movie I'm just not thinking of, I think this movie does the villain jumping bodies whole thing the best that I can think of.
Better than Jason Goes to Hell? That's a joke.
Yeah. Yeah. I think everything does everything better than Jason Goes to Hell.
Although if Kyle MacLachlan's character could team up with Creighton Duke from Jason Goes to Hell, you might have one hell of a movie.
Creighton, like I remember when I saw Jason Goes to Hell, that was also another New Line film, pretty sure. Creighton Duke was like the only thing I really kind of liked about that movie. Like,
yeah, no, that's the thing is like Creighton Duke is great, and he's just stuck in a terrible movie.
Yeah. And like this movie kind of takes its time to get rolling here. Like the cops are really, 2 steps behind. And like we're saying, Kyle MacLachlan, he tried to come in and introduce himself a couple times, actually, to Michael Nuri, Agent Beck, or Detective Beck. And he just gets blown off. And it's like finally, you know, because MacLachlan kind of like once, it'll take a second here, but like once they realized Jonathan P. Miller was the old guy who like did this record store thing, it's like, okay, finally Michael Nuri gives him some credit. You know, maybe this guy knows what he's talking about. Because Kyle MacLachlan as the agent, he kind of has some strange, like, I wouldn't say overly bizarre, but he's very, like, expressionless, and he's very straightforward, but he's not giving much information at all. And I know the director, Jack Shoulder, had some problems with Michael Nuri, which I don't know why, because supposedly, from one thing I read, that Michael Nuri and MacLachlan only agreed to do the film once they agreed that they would work together. But I guess Nuri wanted to be a like leading man or something, so he had all kinds of like real bizarre rules where he always had to like be walking in front of people and shit. And I mean, he comes off as awesome in this movie. He's great. Like even him and MacLachlan got great chemistry. So I mean, I can't knock the guy for the performance. He gives an awesome leading man performance. But I'm kind of surprised that he apparently was such a dick while making the movie.
I'm kind of not surprised because I was thinking because in this, and I was actually gonna say, if you think you could sit down with Michael Nuri today and ask him what's the high point of your career, I imagine he's either gonna say either this or Flashdance, right? Yeah. Like they're really the kind of only two movies that he's like the main attraction in. But whenever you have someone like that who is in, you know, this movie is high profile enough, I suppose. It was actually a fairly modest hit at the time. But he reminds me of someone like a Stephen Bauer, right? Where you're like, well, why wasn't this guy like a bigger, like this guy seems like he could have been a leading man. He's good enough. He's, you know, got the handsome look. And I just always assume maybe they were like difficult to work with or, you know, made some bad career calls along the way.
Yeah, I know Jack Shoulder, you know, said he did a rewrite on this film, which, by the way, I actually really like Jack Shoulder, but I have no problem also saying this is by far leaps and bounds, I think, his best movie. I enjoyed Nightmare on Elm Street 2 a lot, but I think this movie is his best told story out of all the movies he kind of directed. But
I would actually put Nightmare 2 third because I like Alone in the Dark a lot also.
Yeah, you know, I don't even know if I've seen that, to be honest with you. But I know what you're talking about. That was actually his first feature-length film, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But, he just kind of got stuck in B-movie hell after a while. Just kind of did a lot of forgettable stuff, which even he kind of admits to. But now he's retired and everything. Retired from, I don't know if he officially retired, but I'd say probably the mid-2000s, around 2003, 2004, he stopped making movies. And I know he was a teacher for a while at college. And then
he Hollywood retired, right? It's right. That, you know, at a certain point he was only making Sci-Fi Channel type movies, and then it was just like then he's not getting hired for anything, and that's retirement. Yeah.
I'm sure some of that had to do with ageism, and some of it had to do with, you know, just he hadn't had a good hit in a while. But he just retired from teaching. I think I was reading like 2 years ago. But
well, no, because I think you're right. I mean, I think it'd be easy to label him like a journeyman director, but I think there's too much style in this and in Nightmare 2 to like say that. I think he actually had a pretty good eye for composition, and it's, you know, there's some pretty clever stuff going on in this. And even though I'm not a huge fan of Nightmare 2, I think it's a very interesting film, and a lot of it is interesting because of the, you know, choices he clearly made.
And I think this movie deserves a lot of credit because it's the first one I kind of remember. It has this wall-to-wall soundtrack of mostly, I wouldn't exactly say punk music, but kind of like new wave rock music with a little bit of punk. There's like 3 Concrete Blonde songs on the soundtrack. And it's like, you know, they kind of imbue these traits with the alien. The alien likes to steal Ferraris. He likes to like listen to like hard, you know, sometimes metal, sometimes just upbeat rock music. So it's kind of interesting, like watching this alien adapt to and find the things that, like, you know, of human culture that he likes and whatnot.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I want to make sure, like you said, there's other movies that are like this. Very often the evil alien is just depicted as just wants to conquer Earth.
Yeah.
And I think what ultimately gives this movie its identity is the fact that this alien, like you said, is like really into heavy metal, and really when it's taking over a human body, it just wants to raise hell, right? It doesn't even seem like it's not stealing money because it needs money for its plan. It's stealing money because stealing money's fun. It's fun to rob a bank.
Right.
It's fun to just go in a diner and be an asshole and play the boombox loud. We'll see in a moment he even tries to pick up human women. So apparently he's even just taken to like the thrills of sex, you know. So just getting to know this alien as a character, even though it's through the bodies of other people, it's a pretty fun villain, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just, and here he's eating this diner and he's grossing everybody out because his body, he's eating like a big plate of food and his body, he's like making all this weird noise. Everybody's grossed out. Then he sees a Ferrari go by and he chases it down. I went up at this, I don't even think it's really a Ferrari dealership. It's more like an exotic car dealership. But yeah, it's just like to watch this alien creature. Because like you said, like I always feel like a lot of alien movies become generic because they always have this like kind of, I don't know, generic ass plot. Like you said, always wanting to take over or always wanting to reproduce nonstop. I get tired of that with alien shit. But also on the flip side too, I forgot to mention Kyle MacLachlan. He even, obviously Michael Nuri thinks he's joking, but he drives this cool silver Porsche, which this was kind of like my dream car for a long, long time, mostly because of this movie. But he jokes that he stole it, and Michael Nuri's like, yeah, what? But it, like even the well, we don't even know that he's an alien. But if you're listening to this show, you know this movie well enough to know that he's kind of drawn to some similar things as well, and he drives super fast. So he just doesn't have the kind of evil personality to it.
Yeah, we'll get some idea later. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I guess the best way to really describe the villain alien is a hedonist.
Yeah, and I was gonna say we'll get the idea later that these are two aliens who've been chasing each other through the galaxy, right, and like popping into like different planets. And I would actually, I'm pretty anti prequel in general, but this is like one of those cases where I almost wish there was like comic book prequels or something, right, to see what these aliens were like on other planets and like how did they adapt to other cultures and what were they like everywhere, because I think later we'll get like an indication. I wanted to ask you about this, Goat. You're pretty sure like right that the alien inside Kyle MacLachlan and the alien inside the villainous alien, they're like two races, right?
That's
two different races.
Yeah. And I guess we should mention there was I don't want to call it terrible because I've never seen it. I own a sealed Laserdisc of it, but I've never watched it. But there is a direct-to-video sequel that
it is terrible. I've seen it.
Yeah. It tries to say that they're from the same planet, but that they evolved. Some turned into the light being, and some turned into the alien. Yeah. Like I don't like that at all. I've always thought from the way this film gives me the impression that they were two different races, and I mean that just makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, and you're making the right call, not even bothering with the sequel, which is too bad because the central idea at the heart of the sequel is actually fairly decent, and I think you could have made a good sequel to this. But first of all, like Nuri not coming back is a big mark against it. But and beyond that, it's pretty poorly directed and everything too. So
yeah, and it's just a bizarre thing of the little girl growing up to be a cop too. It just kind of reeks of unoriginality and just goofiness. I forgot to look this guy's name up, but this big kind of football player guy who plays a security guy at the car dealership.
Yeah, he's very familiar looking.
Yeah, I know him from a bunch of movies, and I feel like he was always playing like a football player, like jock type of guy. You have some good stuff. Like I said, like mirrors like a little bit of the Terminator. How like the Terminator in the first movie, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's always kind of saying phrases weirdly, and people are reacting to him. I like how the alien talks here. I want this car. Mm-hmm. And the guy's like, come on, get out of here. I want this car. I like even how mechanically he pushes the guy.
Yeah.
It's great too when he pulls out the gun and just shoots the guy point blank. I think this is a great like little kind of 80s satire. Maybe it was a satire, maybe it was just reality, but the guys in the two sleazy guys doing the the deal in the office to buy the car. The guy's just like shoving coke at the other guy to do line after line.
And I love the detail that he's got the coke in like the trunk of a little toy car he keeps on his desk.
I was gonna say I love that too, and like I don't know how many watches through this movie it took me to catch that, but when I see that I crack up every time, man.
Yeah.
And like not so much the younger guy buying the car, but the older guy too. He has such a recognizable voice to me, but I can't really place him from any other films. I always thought this was kind of awkwardly staged. How Eddie, the security guy, like stumbles in, and then Miller comes in. But it's a great cold-blooded touch that they give him the keys to the car he wants, and he just still shoots both of them anyway.
Yeah, and that's my maybe my favorite delivery of his when he says thank you, goodbye, and shoots them both.
Yeah,
that's great.
Great, a little bit sped up shot there of him pulling out in the traffic, but still love it.
Do you find so we've talked before on the show about how I love like any movie that is actually filmed in New York in like the 70s or 80s. Mm-hmm. I just love New York as a like old crappy New York as a backdrop. LA not quite as much, but probably like second, right? Do you just love watching old LA set movies from this time period?
Like, I think just off the top of my head, I think the one that does LA the best, the way I like it, the way it looks, is obviously To Live and Die in LA. And honestly, I think this is probably my second favorite. I'm trying to think of anything off the top of my head, but I think those two, yeah. And I like the and then also as somebody who actually like lived in LA for a few years, I think those two films kind of capture it of just like, because LA, like, it's not all sunshine and beaches. It's a lot of it is sunshine and alleyways and correct. Oh, the Terminator as well. Terminator also shows LA like really great cinematically. But yeah, it's just like LA is a place of like the sunshine, which everybody loves, but it's just everything's just harsh and bleached out. Like this scene's a little bit different because I think he's rolling like around like Wilshire or Rodeo Drive, but in general, the whole rest of the places that they're going through in this movie just the seedy old. There's so much like old building and just urban decay in Los Angeles, even to this day. It's crazy. Yeah,
the pointing at them is great.
And the taller girl there, because I was looking at the cast list, the taller girl there, I guess she didn't have that many credits because for her IMDb page, is actually that picture of her standing there on the sidewalk.
Well, for this actor too, his IMDb picture is him from this, I believe.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I mean, you always try not to when you do these shows, Trev. You try not to constantly point out shit that doesn't exist anymore. But I will say, like, I really miss just the days when, sometimes like these just character actors were just, cast because either like the budget or whatever, like they just cast them in and like they were just no name actors, but they were great.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I see a lot of no name actors now that are passable, but it's very rare that I see one where like, holy shit, that person's great,
Yeah, I think if this movie was made today, they'd want to have like everybody the alien hops into be kind of a known commodity or something, and that's why it wouldn't be as interesting. And that's why I think ultimately, like for us, right, like why horror and then to a lesser extent low budget sci-fi, those are two genres that still to this day capitalize on kind of lesser known actors, right? Which is usually just because they have to because of the budgets, but that really helps them because you're not constantly distracted by like, oh, it's that big star or something.
I agree. Now, I've always for many years now, not forever, but for the last few years, I guess, I always, when everything was remake crazy, I was kind of surprised this movie never got a remake. But
yeah,
for the fantasy remake in my head, I'm not really sure who you would get to play Nuri's part. There are probably a lot of people you could get, honestly. But I think my dream casting for the Kyle MacLachlan part, I'm going to go with Robert Pattinson.
Oh, that'd be good. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see him really excelling in that role.
Now, would you want to go as gimmicky and cute as to have Kyle MacLachlan himself play one of the old men that gets taken over by the alien?
I probably wouldn't, just for the simple fact that I might try to pull that little trick to be like, it's a remake that's really a sequel. Like, I probably would keep like all the names separate, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Possibly even set it in a different city if I could. Because I could very easily see this happening and like, just kind of like, if not being covered up, just like people not really believing what because it's a very small group of people who actually like buy into the alien like thing that's going on here.
Well, that's the thing about this split I remember is, at the end of this, it's like a lot of people see that it was an alien thing. And then that's kind of not really talked about in the sequel. It's not like, we know the existence of aliens now, And remember, you've worked on a famous case with an alien. Like, nobody talks about that.
No. And it's kind of funny, too, because they still totally, like, waste Kyle MacLachlan. Like he's kind of, like, half alive at the end, but yeah, like they're not like, oh, holy shit, there's an alien. They're just like, fuck this guy. Here we get by the way, the old man Jonathan P. Miller, he got the card out of the one guy's wallet. He took the wallet of the guys he shot at the dealership, and I guess the guy buying the car, I can't remember, was it the guy buying the car or the guy who sells the car? But one of them was in the import business, and he looks at the card and goes to the warehouse, and he finds out it was just like a whole front for a gun running operation, which is right. Which I kind of don't know why that alien would like make that connection and figure this out, but he clearly, comes onto the stockpile of weapons that he's been desiring. But here we get the scene of the old man's body dying, and great prosthetics of veins popping out and shit popping out. And a second again, you'll see one of the alien tendrils start to come out of the arm. And I always thought that was interesting, even like way back when, because it kind of seemed like the alien wasn't even really control of his own shit, or maybe what's your take on the tendril coming out of the arm?
I mean, I always took it like the alien is in control, like right. It's not like it's influencing the person. It's pretty much it is the person now. But just the human body is such a weak host for it that it's kind of like, it's like when you have a leg spasm, right? Yeah. That's like that for the alien, like its own tendril like popping out.
Yeah, it's like the I guess the arm in this case was too weak to, But like, I mean, obviously they don't show anything like that in the movie, but I've always kind of like fantasized too about it'd be cool if you could do in the remake somehow with, obviously graphics and stuff, you could actually show how it's like kind of sitting in probably like the chest. And probably the it kind of has like a snout kind of thing, like, I don't know, antenna. If you could see that going up to the brain and then the tendrils coming out and controlling the limbs, I think that would be cool.
Now, this is not the most subtle or like, setup for something. Or so we, Chekhov's gun, this is Chekhov's flamethrower. It's pretty in your face. And, not since Once Upon a Time in Hollywood has it been more clear that a flamethrower will come into play later in the film.
Yeah, I actually think Quentin Tarantino was heavily influenced by this film with the flamethrower. It's kind of curious. I've never heard him talk about this movie, but in general, I don't hear Tarantino talk a whole lot about 80s and 90s flicks, but if I'm pretty sure he must have seen this movie. I think he would probably like this movie. He's
seen everything, and I think this would be up his alley. I like that sign that's on the bulletin board that says it's National Pizza Week. Make friends with a pepperoni.
I just noticed that for the first time last night or the other night when I watched that. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And then here you have, because they're working the case so late. Michael Nuri takes Kyle MacLachlan back to his home, and this is where we start to kind of get the feels for the first time really, as the audience, that something's really not right with Kyle MacLachlan, that he's not just because the things he says, he clearly knows that the person they're chasing is an alien. Like, the things he says, first it was this person, and it was this person, and then like, Nuri's kind of like in the dark, like, you tell me they're all working together, and it's like, but I mean, he knows what's going on. But I feel like this was the scene that we were really supposed to first kind of think for the first time that Kyle MacLachlan himself was an alien, because he really is he hasn't gotten down the interpersonal human kind of relationships dynamics.
Well, this is where we get to like what you said about, I don't know if this comes from the original script or if this comes from Shoulder's rewrites, but I agree with you. But then the movie actually is fairly clever in that I think it does a good double twist in a way where right when you start to think that, right, you're like, wow, he's acting so strange, maybe he's not human. But then he gets like the little where he talks about his family being murdered. And for a moment you can think like, oh, well, that's just why he's so weird, right? Yeah. Like he's traumatized by that. But
PTSD.
Of course,
yeah. But this is a good little character beat. But I think it's a good time to ask you, Trev, what's your history for this film? How far do you come back from it?
So I came to it later, actually. I'm definitely someone who came to it after. I'm sure I came to it because of liking Kyle MacLachlan from his work with Lynch, and I don't think I saw this till kind of like late 90s, actually.
Nice.
I could be wrong, but it might have been, maybe it's quite possible the first time I saw it was when I bought this DVD. And as I said, since it's a snapper case, obviously it was a very early DVD.
Yeah.
And I think it's one I bought just because I knew the reputation of the film. And I think I'd probably at that point seen bits and pieces of it on cable, but I never really sat down and watched the whole thing. But then I saw it and I liked it a lot. Then I instantly sought the sequel out, regretted it.
Yeah, I know. I was a huge fan of this movie, and I didn't know about the sequel like at all till years later. Like I never saw it at the video store. Nothing. I never knew it existed. But yeah, I was myself. I was pretty much, because I'm a little bit older than you. I was pretty much day one on this. This came out. I was probably about 10 years old. And I distinctly remember too seeing it. And I just looked it up too to verify my memory. But I remember seeing it like a day or two before Halloween, because I remember we had some family members come over. Halloween was on a Saturday that year, and this film came out in October in 1987. And I distinctly remember, because me and my dad we had went and seen it. We were so blown away by it, Like I think the Terminator and this were like some of the early movies that just really just blew me away in the theater. And I remember my dad talking to one of my cousin's husbands, just describing the movie, because it wasn't like a real, like, I don't know, like super publicized. I don't think many New Line movies were, but it wasn't like advertised out the ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get some awkward beer drinking here from Kyle MacLachlan.
Everything like about the wife, like her outfit, her hair is very 1987.
Very. And it's kind of funny too, because it's like, I mean, this movie came out in 87, so they probably shot it 86, but it's weird, like, I don't know if you, like, get this feeling too, Trev, but, like, you can tell a huge difference between, like, a movie, say, from, like, 1982 or 83, and then a movie from, like, 87 or 88, like...
Yeah.
Just like, the 80s gets kind of like lumped together as being this one big day glow joke of a thing, but there really was a few different, not just in terms of fashion and music and stuff, but also in terms of filmmaking style. There kind of was like, a big different feel, and I think you could kind of see the what do you call it? Like the transition from the kind of like wild and crazy early 80s movies where like not a lot of stuff, they were fun, but not a lot of stuff made sense, to where like going towards like the late 80s, early 90s, I think things started getting a little bit more like, gritty and serious and trying to be more logical, especially with genre movies, I think I would say. I mean, it's not on the caliber of this movie, but like, I think it's like it kind of makes sense, like when you see the movies that New Line just in particular were making, like in the early to mid 80s, and then this, like just a few years before this, they were making stuff like Critters, and then by this time they were making stuff like this.
Yeah.
Like,
do you think Michael Nuri's career might have been a little more prominent if Chris Sarandon didn't already exist?
I think so. It's kind of funny that you said that, because, like, yeah, they kind of operate in the same space. I think Sarandon's like...
I just think of how much he looks like him. There's a moment there where he kind of gave, like, a nod and it was just, like, in that moment, I was like, man, he looks a lot like Chris Sarandon.
It's really weird, because, like, that's, like, the only other person that I really would compare Michael Nuri to. And it's just so... I mean, obviously, a lot of it has to do with I've seen this movie probably 20, 30 times, but, yeah, like... If this was the only thing you ever seen of Michael Nuri, like, you would think, oh, this guy was like end up being a huge star, because I think he's like one step away. Like, maybe this role doesn't really have the breathing room, but I think he's like kind of in that same space where Richard Gere was at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And like, he doesn't play like a really sensitive or vulnerable character. Like, there definitely is like a whole, buddy cop dynamic between him and MacLachlan, but he does a lot of little nuanced things. This movie is great with the little nuances, just with like the little looks and glances. Like, it holds the scenes a lot of times, just extra like half beat to, make it not seem cardboard and generic. Now, I'd say like this movie, I was just saying, there's a difference between early 80s and late 80s. Where I think this scene is kind of like the one exception. Like, this scene really reeks of like 1984 and 1985 with the strip club, because like there was always a strip club scene. And obviously we got to mention the awesome Claudia Christian, but there seems to be some prosthetics at work in this scene. I don't know if you ever noticed that, Trev.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Yeah. We should also point out this bartender is another one of those like just character actors you see from everything, but would probably popularly be known for it. I believe his most famous role is in Rescue Me, the Dennis Leary firefighter show.
Yep.
He was like one of the main characters on that show.
Yeah, I totally just looked him up last night too, and I'm blanking on his name, but he always plays that kind of like almost Jersey bartender kind of guy.
Now, Claudia Christensen, who is doing great work in this scene, prosthetics or whatever, but I believe most people would probably always think of her primarily from Babylon 5. But for me, and maybe you're with me, Go, because I know this is a film you and I have talked about. It's one I know we both want to do on the show, and I think the thing that keeps stopping us is just the availability of it. But I always think of Claudia Christensen from Hexed.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of like my primary thought of her.
Yeah. Like I was kind of surprised because like when I looked her up just a while ago, actually, how much and like kind of how all over the place her career was. She did a lot more work than I thought she did, but like I said, being 10 years old, obviously this performance she's given as a stripper, it was a little bit of an awakening for me. Like at this point, I think she was probably like at that point in my life, I guess you would say, that was like the first time I saw like a really super sexy portrayal of a woman in a movie.
I thought the most interesting thing I found out about her and looking her up the other day was that in 2011 she created her own convention called Claudia Con UK.
Wow.
which took place in the United Kingdom on August 13th and 14th, 2011. I'm like, well, geez, I need to look more into that because I want to know what the hell it's like.
I know, like. Does she just do, like, every day of the thing? She does, like, a panel for, like, a different thing she was in. I love this bit where McLaughlin's sleeping in the guest room or whatever. And, like, because he got so affected by, like, the 2 beers or whatever he had. And Nuri gives him some Alka-Seltzer and he tries to eat it like a pill. And then he tells him put it in the water. And then that will come back in a second when they go to the strip club. And officer hands him some aspirin and water. And then he dumps the aspirin in the water. This is actually like a good little scary moment. I mean, even, obviously as the audience, we know that there's an alien inside this guy, but kind of like this could be totally almost like in a slasher movie. Just this little moment of how she's telling this old man to get out of the dressing room and whatnot, and then he kind of like jumps towards her and grabs her. Because that's a scary thing. Nobody really knows what's going on. That these people have been infected with this alien. It's so scary and it spreads so much because it's invisible enemy, very very hard to fight because you don't know it's there. It's invisible. The stripper walks right out, and that dress was insane too. The backless dress with the thong, that was insane. Like I'm still shocked. I mean, that's why I like miss the 80s because I mean, I don't find anything like that really that like exploitive or anything. But I just love, like, the, I don't know what you call it, the fashion. No, just the fashionable, like, artistic expression. Now, am I crazy, or is this, like, the white-suited pimp? It looks so much like David Paymer. But I looked it up, and it's not. I can't
That's what I thought the other night.
I always thought it was
crazy.
him. I always thought it was him, but, like, I looked up some pictures, from that time. He was in Night of the Creeps a little bit before this, and his hair was like way different. He looked way younger, but what's weird is that looks more like David Paymer now. But yeah, I can't figure out who that guy is. I looked at the credits. I guess he's uncredited. But who do you think these guys are that were hanging outside the strip club? Like, they look like pimps to me. Do you think they're like drug dealers? Like, who are they?
Well, they're definitely like, I mean, they're scumbags, right? Just like they hang on this street. Cause so this is like, we were talking about like, this is definitely more of like, like the red light district or whatever. We see it's all adult bookstores and tattoo shops. So, I don't know. I'd like to know the backstory of these two guys for sure. The greaseball, the Lamborghini jacket, and fake David Paymer for sure.
I know. But there's a great bit earlier with the bartender and like the old man. I like that scene where the old man is just bleeding all over the bar. And he's like, "Hey, buddy, you all right?" And he's like, "Yeah."
Yeah. I just like too that the bartender is been like pretty nonplussed by it, right? Like working in that place, it's like, yeah, well, I see crazier stuff than this all the time.
There's a pint of blood on the bar top. Yeah, here's the great callback with the he doesn't know what to do with the aspirin. Now here the alien has sex with the pimp, and I'm assuming because there was a moment where like the alien, like, or maybe it's coming up, not sure. Yeah, actually I think it's coming up here with the rearview mirror. But the alien is very like kind of intrigued about being in a woman's body now.
Yeah,
you notice that, like in a attractive woman too, I should say.
Perhaps not surprising coming from the director of Nightmare on Elm Street 2, but you could argue this film is LGBTQ representation friendly. You know?
It could be. It could be that subtext.
Yeah. Maybe they'll make a documentary about this one too.
Claudia Christian. she'll be the new what's his name, Mark Patton.
Yeah.
It's like a weird song playing on the radio too, where it's like the lyrics are "You don't make me feel like a woman anymore." Here's where she checks herself out. Kind of a fun scene. I mean, I think it would be seen now as like a lot more sleazier than it really is, but I think it's like an interesting beat that this alien, you know, would be thinking this way. And unfortunately, this is the one time where the alien doesn't get to drive a Ferrari. Got to drive that old shitty pimp mobile, old Cutlass or whatever it is. Dang, why did Richard Brooks have to manhandle that exotic dancer so much to get her to talk to Michael Nerd?
Now, what's your primary, when you think of Richard Brooks, what do you think of? Because I feel like I have a weird one, because I know most people probably associate with him with Law and Order the most. But me, like, my mind usually goes to him as the villain in The Crow City of Angels.
That's what I was going to say. Where he's at the end where he's got like the duct tape gloves and he's trying to suck in the power of the crow and all that.
But I mean, I'm on record as like I unabashedly enjoy that movie. I think it's I actually like Crow City of Angels. I think it's got kind of a little bit of a bum rap. But
I got a hot take because I love it, and I know it's not the story adaptation of the Crow comic book. It's just a movie story, whatever. But to me, when I watch The Crow and then I watch The Crow 2, The Crow, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love The Crow and I love Brandon Lee, I mean, by all means, but I actually like The Crow 2 better because I feel like even though it's not a straight adaptation of the story, I feel like he gets kind of the spirit of the story more than the Brandon Lee version does.
I definitely don't like it better, but I feel like for all the like talk about how crappy it is, first of all, knowing like what a compromised movie it was and knowing like what the story is supposed to be makes me appreciate it more. But also I just think like it's very beautiful visually, and I think it's a shame that it's one of those cases where it was such a nightmare, like, you know, thought like making everything that Tim Pope kind of like never directed again, and that's too bad.
Like I was honestly, because I was kind of like rolling my eyes when they started making it and the trailers and whatever. But I got into it full force. I bought the soundtrack, which was really good. It had all those cover songs on it. Mm-hmm. I was into it. I love the weirdness of like, you know, the Thomas Jane character and the Iggy Pop character, like the villains. I honestly thought the villains were kind of better in that one than they were in the original movie.
Yeah, and I think Vincent Perez does a really nice job playing like a crazier version of that character, right? Yeah. Like when they allowed him to kind of go insane, I think he does really well.
Yeah, like I don't know why, but like you know, in the original Crow movie, all of a sudden this become a Crow cast, but I can't help it. The original Crow movie, it's, you know, they kill his girlfriend. Quick pause here to talk about Claudia Christensen being awesome. The way she slinks out of the car and the cops pulling her over, and like they come out and they're like, "Oh, she's so hot," and then she kind of whips her arm around and has that shotgun and totally like blows the shit out of their car. But they're totally taken off guard, as I would be too. I would let my guard down too. But yeah, like not that it's bad, but it just the way the story in the first Crow, you know, of his girlfriend dying and him dying. Brandon Lee acts it out well, like especially the scenes where he's coming back from the grave and stuff. But like for some reason, I just connect more with the story in the second one, where Vincent Perez, his son, I think his son's named Danny, gets killed, and maybe a little bit unnecessary to make the female character the grown up version of the little girl from The Crow. I felt like that was just to make the excuse so they could put the paint on him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree.
But other than that, like I don't know, like I'm just more into the emotional, and unfortunately, it does reach that kind of generic conclusion where the villain's just trying to absorb the power of the Crow and stuff. But I'd say for the first 3/4 of it, like I think it's actually somewhat of a, a little bit of a underrated gem.
Yeah, I agree. Now here we get the other big car chase of the movie. So this is like, the opening one was the big action scene, but this is pretty good in its own right.
Yeah.
And like, so we're looking like between these two scenes, I'm sure we're looking at, 60% of the budget.
I would think so too. I would think this one would probably be a little bit easier for them to pull off because it's at night, and they probably could just do this at 3 a.m. where you could tell with the amount of pedestrians there were on the earlier chase that they were doing that like in the middle of the day,
Yeah.
But yeah, like everything's good in this movie. Like I wasn't able to read. Did you ever see what the budget was for this flick, Trev?
No. Looks like the Wikipedia page only says like how much it made, but it doesn't have a budget.
I could never find the budget. If I had to guesstimate, I'd say this is like a $5-7 million film. But it looks like great. Like it easily, even for that time, like it looks like it's like a $20 million film. But yeah, the cinemat. I think just they had a great cinematographer. I think the editor was great. Shoulder did a good job. I think just one of those things. Sometimes the best production value is just having competent people putting the movie together. But I just can't stress like how perfect I think this movie like is shot and edited, and the pace and the feel, and like the few times where the film.
I wonder about the budget because it's listed as being like a modest hit for New Line at
like $9.7 million, I think was the box office.
Yeah, they say that's a modest hit, but I'm guessing this is certainly the kind of movie that seems to me like it probably made a lot more once it hit video. And I'm sure that's what led to them doing a straight-to-video sequel. Yeah.
This is probably the best moment of buddy cop banner where he's like, Nuri's like, I'll cover you. He's like, it's probably better if you don't, safer if you don't. He's like, all right, I won't cover you. He's like, nah, I need you to cover me. Do you want me to cover you or not?
Yeah.
like
even before that, during the chase, like the moment where
go ahead.
When he tells him to shoot out the tire, and he's like, yeah, I'm trying, and then McLaughlin just does it in like one shot.
Yeah. And again, like it kind of goes back to like the Terminator feel to this, of just the aliens being so, and like not only be able to take a shitload of bullets and not die, but just how like on point they are with their fighting skills and murdering skills. Not really fighting because they don't really hand-to-hand fight, but shooting skills, I should say. I kind of miss that too. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love martial arts films and hand-to-hand combat films, but I kind of miss. I think probably the only exception we have nowadays is John Wick, but even that's taken to like almost like a, over the top gun fu level. But I just miss the days when pretty much everything in an action movie was shooting guns and car chases. Kind of miss that.
Yeah.
I thought this was a great touch too, with just an eerie touch and good visually, where they're stalking the alien stripper through like a mannequin factory.
Well, mannequins are always creepy, so if you want a scene to be creepy, just surround it with naked mannequins. Yeah. Maybe it's just a Maniac connection or something to me, but
it could be. Some good, like nothing spectacular over the top, but just everything flows together good. The shootout here. They're totally just like racking her up with bullets too. She heads to the roof.
I feel like every time I revisit this movie though, so this is a movie that I kind of don't watch that often, which is cool because like I feel like I revisit it every 3 or 4 years and I kind of forget about it, and it's a nice surprise coming back. And I feel like every time I watch it, I'm kind of surprised by how short the alien is in Claudia Christensen. Like I'm surprised the movie didn't have that be like a more primary body for like a longer time.
Yeah, because I know what you mean, because I've seen this movie a million times, but there was a long gap in between there where I didn't really see it on like videotape that much. So this came out like 87, and I saw it I think a couple times on cable since then. And then the DVD came out like the late 90s. So there probably was like 7 years or so I didn't see this movie, and then when I resaw it, got the DVD is good too. The Blu-ray just came out like maybe 2 years ago. I would recommend either the DVD or the Blu-ray, because I watched the DVD on big screen TVs a lot, and it holds up. It's one of those good transfers. But I know exactly what you mean because
this transfers. I was surprised the other night.
Yeah, it's really good, and I think it even has like DTS sound if I'm remembering right. But from like the first time you see this movie to like the next time you see it, or like you said, when there's a gap of like when you see it, you remember as Claudia Christensen being such a huge part of this movie. But like you said, screen wise, not so much. I
was pleasant. I put this DVD in the. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Trev.
I put this DVD in the other night, expecting it to look like hot garbage, and I was very pleasantly surprised by it. I was like, because I was wondering if like, oh man, am I going to put this in? Am I going to feel like I have to order the Blu-ray now? And actually, I think I'm fairly happy sticking with this for the moment.
Yeah, the Blu-ray is nice, but it's pretty much I think the special features and everything is pretty much a port of the DVD. The DVD holds up real well. And like for terrible like DVD like recovers and stuff, I actually like the new artwork on the DVD cover. The Blu-ray goes with the original poster, which looks really nice. I also have the Laserdisc I bought a couple years ago just for the artwork and what. But I was just gonna say, I just had the thought run through my head, Trev, like this whole kind of rooftop action scene and the way Claudia Christensen's going to end up taking a dive off this roof. I wonder if this was inspired by the. Who is it, Joanne and Cassidy scene in Blade Runner? It kind of reminds you of that.
Perhaps.
Like even kind of the style of clothes that she's wearing and whatnot. Like this was really super memorable to me too, Trev, is at the end where like he's riddling her with the bullets and, he brings out his little alien gun because that's the only thing that can kill the alien when it jumps bodies or whatever. But I like the scene here, the voice she does where she tells him, I'm not coming out yet. Just it's like you just like I don't know, like this scene, like this part of the scene always stood out to me.
Yeah. What do you think of the design of the little alien gun?
I always thought it was like a little weird, but like the more I like look at it, I kind of like it because I like how like kind of ergodynamic it is, the way it has the spot. And I'm kind of surprised that such an old movie would kind of think this through. But I always like the color; it's chrome. I like how it has the spot for like his thumb to go through, and then the way his fingers wrap around it. Like I thought that was pretty cool. Like it just looks like a solid object, like a little like wedge thing. It doesn't really look like a gun with a barrel or anything. Yeah, Michael Nuri was dangling off the ledge, and McLaughlin saved him at time. I don't know why, but like speaking of like always getting something wrong. For some reason, I always thought the lieutenant guy, I always thought he showed up like to the crime scene here, like in his pajamas. He shows up with his dog, but he's actually like in a full sweatsuit with a towel wrapped around his neck. Like
he came from the gym or something, right?
Yeah, like this guy was doing a heavy duty workout at the gym at 9:00 at night or whatever this is.
With his dog?
Yeah, with his dog. Yeah. That always kind of made me a little sad too as a kid seeing this movie, knowing that the dog got taken over by the alien.
I mean, if you can survive the dog carnage in The Thing, then you're prepped for the rest of your life watching sci-fi movies that do damage to dogs.
Just to bring it up, because it's still on my mind. Sorry, I had to clear my throat. But there was some animal carnage in a movie the other night, Trev, that actually got under my skin. It was actually in the newest version of Child's Play. Did you see that?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like the way the cat was handled in that, and it kept being brought up over and over. It kind of, to be honest, it kind of made me hate the movie even more than I was.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear you, because I did not like that movie, and I was surprised at how many horror fans actually kind of were like, oh, no, it's actually really, really good. I disagree. Hard to disagree.
I thought it was like watching a trauma movie and not in the good way, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah.
Pure shit. And I don't know, there was a lot of fans that were just like, and I'll be honest, like I've watched them all various times and stuff, and I'm not that big of a Chucky guy. I like the original film the most probably. And yeah, it just was brutal. I mean, I didn't even go into the mindset because obviously I waited so long to see it. I just saw it on cable. So it wasn't like I was even comparing it to the original, but just as a movie, just a movie to watch, it just it wasn't reaching that entertainment. Like I thought the way
that's how I felt like.
Yeah,
I saw a lot of people say like, well, no, if you just think of it as its own thing, and I was like, no, even on that level, it fails.
Mm-hmm. And the design of the doll was so terrible and stupid.
Yeah.
But anyway, just making it a robot too, which is so terrible. But yeah. So here we get to the point where they lost the track because they don't know how the alien jumped bodies. They didn't know that the dog. It just happened so quick. The dog ran up to the body before anybody could witness it or whatever. But I gotta say, like, normally the alien going into the dog in most movies might be a jumping the shark type moment. And they also arrest McLaughlin because, like, they realize he's not who he says he is or whatever. But anyway, usually I would think the alien jumping into a dog would be kind of a jumping the shark moment. But I have to admit, it's actually really well done in this movie. Like, the dog acting, everything. And, like, I love the scene where it's coming up in a second here, the next scene. But you see the lieutenant, goes back home and the dog is, like, sitting in front of a mirror. I guess I should say Michael Nuri got shot in the arm. I guess more in the shoulder, and he's just like, he's not going to the hospital. He's just taking his Tylenol, and that's it.
Well, I brought up like the thing with the dog. How much of this film do you think was inspired by The Thing? Because it's kind of similar, right? The idea of not knowing who's the alien and who's not.
Yeah.
So I wonder the element with the dog. I've always felt it was maybe like a nod to that, or they at least felt like they had to go ahead because we'd already seen that kind of done in a similar movie.
Right. I think you're onto something there, but it's kind of ironic where the whole thing about The Thing is like who is it? Like, once you know the alien is in the movie, once it comes out of Chris Mulkey, they pretty much always like straight on tell you who the alien is at that point. So
it's kind of more about watching the characters who don't know,
right? And that's kind of interesting in its own right too. Like, I would say that was the only thing that really bothered me watching this the other night. And it never really bothered me before, but just how fucking much Nori shrugs off this bullet wound. I mean, and like later on they show him in bed at home, he's got like a tiny bandage on, like maybe like a 2-inch bandage. I'm just like, even if the bullet went clean through, it's like, And again, just give him more props to the human side of this. I love that he finally gives a solid thank you to the kind of like nerdy cop who always dumps the work on here.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, like, maybe you look this up and have it handy, but this guy, like, I feel like this is, I could be wrong, but I feel like this is a guy that I've seen like a face that was like popping up and other stuff around this time.
Yeah, this was like one of the few guys I didn't look up, but I know what you mean. Like, he's so familiar. Later on, when they go to the jail, though, it's Cameo City there. But yeah, and it's kind of an interesting point in the movie because like kind of all the energy gets sucked out of the movie here because like it almost feels like the movie's like over with now. Like I mean, obviously because the movie's not ending, it's not over with, but it almost is like a feeling here that the good guys actually have just lost. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Now I'm always a little confused. So like when that scene we just saw, they find out, then we get the backstory of what body Kyle MacLachlan took over.
Yeah. And
they hand him this like that looks like a mugshot, right? Like a mugshot of like a young Kyle MacLachlan.
Yeah, it does.
But then it's strange because the insinuation is that the body he's in is actually like the friend of an FBI agent that they kind of went into the woods together, and the FBI agent died, and he took his identity. But I'm wondering why this FBI agent was hanging out with someone who would have had a mugshot, like they had a camping trip together.
Yeah, it was weird because it was I don't know, like that definitely because everywhere they go they instantly like get a photo. Like they kind of explain it with the older guy that they they get the photo for somehow his hospital records have a recent photo of him. But everybody else, they're like, even the stripper, they have like an 8x10 like nearby that they're given. Like they always have these like 8x10 photos. But yeah, I know exactly what I mean. It is kind of like a weird thing, but it's almost like a funny wrinkle too, because it's like you think like this FBI agent would have been well, you don't really know, but you think this FBI agent that Kyle MacLachlan's in person, you think he would have been on the hunt for the alien, but it seems like him and his friend, like there was a forest fire, and maybe that was like they were tracking the alien or something. But just the fact that they add on the extra layer of like McLaughlin's body was really just a friend was like, well, I don't think he would bring his friend. Well, it almost seemed like they were victims of the alien or something. I'm not sure. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I mean, I could definitely see like him getting away with the impersonation back then, because like computers weren't widespread. You could make a phony ID and walk around or whatever, or a non-picture ID. But
it's pretty low tech back then. If you don't believe that, just look at that burglary sign that's hanging in the police station. That's just a piece of wood that someone wrote burglary on with a blue marker.
Yeah. Did you happen to be a watcher of the show Deadwood, Trev?
Oh yeah, I love Deadwood.
Yeah, the red-haired nerdy cop we were talking about, he was in that for 2 years playing a guy named Leon.
Okay, yep. As soon as you said that, I'm like, yep, that's what it is. Yeah.
He's still working too. He was in the recent Harrison Ford Call of the Wild. Playing. Did
he play the dog?
No, he played the grocer, or the grocer, I should say. I guess the guy who sells the groceries in the movie. Kind of sad that he's doing such small parts, but yeah. Anyway, back to the task at hand here. I like this though. This scene where McLaughlin finally lays it all on the line, that it's an alien that they've been hunting, and I'm kind of taken aback a little bit that Michael Nuri like doesn't want to believe it. It's like when he's the one being like, like we shot this zoned out stripper 20 times, blah blah blah. I think at this point I would be like a little bit willing to believe. You know?
Well, you'd want to, but like I want to believe, right? I'm an X-Files fan, so
it's true.
Maybe because I've seen so many of these movies and TV shows, I feel like if I ever got in a situation like this, maybe my gut instinct would be to go like, yeah, let's just run with it.
Yeah, Detective Beck here must be a relative of Scully or something. He's so skeptical. What a feeling, Michael there. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, obviously you couldn't do it now, but yeah, like the initial spree, because like the alien's been on like 2 or 3 bodies, I think, by the time this movie starts. The invisible enemy that we can't track has been on the run here. Like, I think instead of doing that, like whatever bad sequel for video, they should have done the prequel, and then maybe had McLaughlin just do a cameo at the end. There's a lot of great...
You're right, though. This is ripe for a remake for sure.
Yeah. And there's some good editing in this movie too, because like earlier in the movie when they're the doctors are describing Jonathan Miller and they're saying like, oh, he he's a law-abiding citizen, he would never do anything, blah blah blah. He never hurt anybody. He would never break the law, I think is what the doctor says, and then it instantly cuts to him in the record store stealing stuff. And then there was like a great shot there where like the conversation between McLaughlin and Nuri, and then it cuts to a close up of McLaughlin, and then the jail bars like fly in his face. Like there's some good like scene to scene transitions like that in this movie. Here's the tiny bandage I was talking about that Nuri has. You can barely even see it. Like wouldn't he be bleeding all over the sheets there? Like it's still a fresh wound. Yeah. And again, with the jumping shark, it kind of happened a few minutes ago, but the scene where the dog comes and like knocks out the lieutenant guy, I thought all that was like pretty like well choreographed with the dog jumping through the thing and all that. And I wanted to bring this up, Trev, because I'm not sure if it's on the DVD cover or not, but I just wanted to bring this up. I thought this was interesting. The original poster. Have you ever seen the original poster where like half the face is Edo Ross's face, and the other half is...
Yeah, I was actually going to say that's kind of my issue with that poster, is it kind of tells you right off the bat that this guy's going to be one of the aliens later,
Yeah. But this is what it says, like in the corner, it says, it's killed 37 people, robbed 6 banks, 2 liquor stores, a record shop, and stole 2 Ferraris. Now the fun starts. It just took over a police station. So, like, what they're teasing, like, the concept or, like, what's going to happen in this movie, like we're pretty much, like, coming in the home stretch. We're pretty much going into, like, the third act here.
Yeah, and that's also, like, not the climax of the film is not, like, a police station siege, it goes on beyond this.
Yeah, like, there's a whole end sequence, Like, this is maybe, like, well, I was gonna say the police station is like the last super large scale action scene, but that's not really true. There's still some action that goes on at the rally. But I don't know. I'm kind of lost here. Like when you just watch the movie, you go with it or whatever, and you don't think about it. But why would the alien come to the police station at this point? Does he know that Kyle? I mean, obviously they set up that he's coming there to kill Kyle MacLachlan, but it's like when the alien was in the dog, did he watch Kyle MacLachlan get arrested? Is that how he knew he would?
Yeah, maybe if they'd had like a little cutaway showing that would make more sense. But I don't know if we ever got that. Yeah.
Yeah.
We should point out that we kind of went by it, and we'll see her again. But in terms of like cameos, this has one of our biggest scream queens nowadays in this, Lynn Shay.
Yeah, young Lynn Shay, young attractive Lynn Shay, because she was the sister of Bob Shay, who produced this movie and produced all the New Line movies. I guess
Lynn Shay is like such a great story to me. You know, it's so cool that someone like that who's, you know, I've often talked about how Hollywood treats kind of older actors, and it's great to see someone her age, you know, actually allowed to be the lead of a big successful horror franchise, and then just get a lot of work in other horror films because, you know, all these young filmmakers look up to her and want to use her now, and I just think it's really cool that she had this like real like kind of, you know, in the 2000s like resurgence.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because she definitely kind of got more on the radar when she was in Something About Mary, but really, like you said, like with the horror flicks in the last, probably whatever it's been, the 10 years since the first Insidious came out, she's really like, her profile's gone up.
Yeah.
And going to Cameo City here just a second ago, I passed one of the you know, uniform officers that got shot by the alien was... I think his name is Branscombe Richmond. A lot of people know him as the guy who played Bobby Sixkiller on the Lorenzo Lamas show Renegade. I always thought that was a fun cameo that pops up. Well, I guess not a cameo, more like he was just being an extra. I like this part too, where Beck takes this guy's gun and like shoves him against the wall and tells him to go seal off the hallway or stairwell. Again, now
we're going to come to one of the best cameos. In a moment.
Yeah, but again, the reminiscent of the Terminator here. Wouldn't you say, Trev? When the Terminator attacks the police station.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's funny because I don't think I've thought about it as much as you have, but now that you bring it up, it's like this film. Yeah, has a lot of like Terminator parallels.
Yeah, like just like the thing of the people getting shot nonstop, taking all the damage. Like I was totally on the trail of this being I guess in some ways a Terminator clone, but not really. I don't know. But
it's like more fun than Terminator, right?
Yeah. Like even though they're both sci-fi, it definitely is more outrageous. Yeah. I like this too, where he takes this moment to ask MacLachlan before he unleashes him from the cell. He asks him like, "Is Masterson the real Masterson dead?" Again, I think the thing that stops this movie from being a trauma movie or whatever is the little acting beats. Like they give beats for the actors to play, and they playing well, especially Nuri, man. It's such a shame he was apparently a cock, but whatever. He did his job. Yep, here it is, Prisoner. Hey, what's going on? Show up in a second. I like too how the lieutenant just like comes in here, and like none of these other guys, they're just like screaming out, "Stop that! Don't do that!" He just totally blows open the jail with the doors with a grenade. Like that was a good shot too. Like how MacLachlan takes the bullet in the ankle or thigh or calf, I should say. But they never really like play it off.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like he never really comes back. He doesn't really limp around much. Like he's all walking around the senator's whatever thing later, and they never notice that his leg's bleeding.
Now here we get the first kind of like space talk between the two of them. You know, where they kind of our hero and our villain have a discussion about what happened on a planet before this.
Yeah, he asked him, "How did you find me?" He said, "You left a angry partner for dead or whatever on the altar." So I guess MacLachlan's alien name is Al Hogg. Like that's what the subtitle said. Altarians are filthy people, so McLaughlin is an Altarian. I'm not sure what the bad guy is. I kind of like this tiny little moment. It only lasts for a second. Oh, Danny Trejo cameo. Hey, who are you supposed to be? And then he gets shot through the bars. Isn't it? I mean, obviously we know the story of Danny Trejo and how he got to be, in films and doing bit parts and still doing bit parts. But, like, isn't it funny just the coincidence out of all those guys in the cell that they could have got to do that? You know what I mean? They picked Danny Trejo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that shot.
That's a great little moment when he gets shot in the head. Yeah.
The spray that comes out of the corner of his forehead.
When he gets shot in the head and the blood just sprays out, and then the rocket launcher going off. And...
Yeah.
Did you know that Danny has a thing in his contract where if he plays a villain, he has to die?
No. Is that like a moral thing? He doesn't want to...
Like, he won't... Yes, it is. Yeah, because of the time he spent in prison, he's not comfortable playing any villains that, like, win. So he said, I only play villains if I'm sure that my character will get his in the end.
That's pretty cool. And here's, like, the only kind of, like, cheeseball thing is the whatever rotoscoped animation of the laser gun. Because, he's demonstrating on Nuri that it doesn't work on humans. Like, I always hate that, like, glowy effect when the energy beam hits them. I don't know, it's just cheesy.
Well, I think the thing about it that bothers me is it looks too much like what he ends up looking like later.
It's exactly like, yeah, it's weird. They should have at least made his energy like blue or something. I'll say too, of course, like, we're supposed to believe they're different types of aliens or whatever, but I always thought it'd be kind of cool, like more hardcore if, because obviously they don't want the good alien to be the same type of nasty squid-like alien. But I think this movie would be so hardcore if at the end you just saw like a nasty giant squid come out of McLaughlin and go into Michael Nuri.
Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe making this like a slightly different color so you can just tell it's a different one. But here they find the dead lieutenant, and they're trying to figure out. This kind of is like a thing-like moment, because this is the first time where you as the viewer, you don't know who is the alien. You think maybe the redheaded guy is because he's kneeling over the body, but then he tells them that Edo Ross was just in there, and obviously Michael Nuri has that moment of like, oh no, not my friend,
Mm-hmm.
I think too, this movie has I don't know what you would call it, but it has a great balance of like looking real, but like the lighting, like, I don't know, like it doesn't really look like movie lighting no matter where they're at, you know what I mean? Like, even just like the interior
it has
station.
I think you'll know what I mean when I say like the look of it. It has a Larry Cohen look.
Yeah.
Where which just is that. Yeah, it's like that. It's like that bright, real look that I think is used a lot in horror and sci-fi. Only certain directors are willing to do that.
Yeah. Like the majority of the movie actually mostly takes place during daytime. Yeah, it all has that look. So here we kind of get the thing, because it was previously set up with just like a little brief TV appearance. There's this guy, I can't remember, is he a senator or a congressman?
Yeah, he's running for some kind of, or he already is like a senator. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, but he hasn't officially announced his candidacy, but
he's going to run for president.
Yeah, a lot of people think he's going to run for president. He's having this big press conference in this downtown LA. I don't know if it's a hotel or whatever it is, but they expect him to announce his candidacy for president. And the alien who's now in the body of the cop who's supposed to be on one of the security details, Detective Willis, that's Edo Ross's name. He was supposed to be there to be like one of the security detail guys, but he's actually going there because he does want to get inside of this guy. And finally, we have a little bit of motivation of the alien, having kind of higher aspirations. If he could run for president. I always kind of wonder the validity of that, though, because obviously they talk about this guy, the senator, whoever he is, being a like a great talker, like giving great speeches, and I don't know if the alien could pull that off.
Yeah. This is also getting to, I mean, maybe when you're at this point in the movie, maybe they just expect you to accept it and move on. But for the first thing in this movie that makes me like really kind of roll my eyes and be like, well, what are you talking about? Is the fact that there's this shootout happening in this hotel now, right? And like everyone's aware of it. And then they just, after it's all kind of settled, or they think so, they still go forward with like his speech in this place.
Yeah, like after all these people are like the shit
I'm
dies down.
Pretty sure they would cancel.
Yeah. Because like you have no way of knowing, if Edo Ross.
It's also it's an active crime scene now,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also too, like this is really we've had these scenes before or whatever of like people taking a bunch of bullets, but to me this was always the scene like in the movie that really comes off as Terminator-esque, the way Edo Ross is just taking bullet after bullet, shooting people and stuff. Mm-hmm. Which, could you imagine how many squibs, like, one poor guy had to take during that day?
And I was thinking about that, like, I've never had a squib on me. Yeah. Or when I see films like this that are about, like, impervious people or whatever, like, how tough it is to have the squib go off on you and not react.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're trying to play somebody...
At the end of the day, you do have an charge going off.
Yeah, it's one thing if you're just playing it for real the way, like, Nuri is, because he's a regular human and he gets hurt by it, but... Yeah, if you're just supposed to stand there with no reaction, and you're just waiting for the guy to press the button or whatever. Yeah. So Nuri pretty much, he ran out of bullets at the wrong time and took 2 in the gut from the alien. Yeah, I don't know, I like this little moment of McLaughlin holding his hand and whatnot. Then obviously Edo Ross. I like the detail too that he's starting to get pale from like bleeding out so much. Like he looks cool here. But he goes in. I always thought this was interesting too because the senator hides Lin Shaye in like this closet and like she's looking out through the slats. So even though like they don't explicitly show it, like she sees the senator being overtaken by the alien, and she does like look like a little weirded out. But I just was always like curious like why she didn't say like more or whatever. She does a good job of being scared here in the closet.
I guess she's just like, you know what, I'm going to president thing, even if he's an alien.
Yeah, he'll take me to the top. Even this slimy squid fucker. Get him out. I think of, the movie business, like, evolving into the way it has and becoming a much bigger business. I think I really miss these, like... A New Line really was the one who brought it to me the most. Just these little, I don't know, B-movies, genre pictures, whatever. And there's definitely tons of genre pictures, like, made today, don't get me wrong, but... I don't know, like, the newer ones, I think, are cut from, like, a different cloth than these older ones. I think these older ones had more of a... I don't know what you say, like a feel of like the 70s exploitation. I think a lot of the newer ones are more like that I see that are more directly inspired from like the direct-to-video 90s movies.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what Michael Nuri's taken 3 bullets in the last 24 hours. He's finally knocked out of commission. Now, what did you think about the whole... Clu Gulager come back.
Yeah.
It just says that the department's conducting an investigation. But what do you think about the way it winds up here with this final,
Well, I'm actually surprised that they don't, like what you just said about how... I'm actually kind of surprised that they kind of tip their hat to telling us it's the senator now. Like, he does the little tongue thing to McLaughlin. Mm-hmm. And I feel like you could have played this moment to where you don't know if it's the senator or it's Lin Shaye, and added like a little extra beat to it.
Right.
In terms of like just a little bit of a climax. But I mean, this is the kind of where like the obviously the big action climax is the Edo Ross scene. And now we just get like a fun little, moment with McLaughlin here with the flamethrower. But,
it's like
I don't know. To me, like the prime image of this film always is Yeah, the prime image of this movie always is McLaughlin with the flamethrower. I believe if my memory serves correctly, like the old VHS box for this, that was like the primary picture on the back was McLaughlin with the flamethrower, and it's what I always think of when I think of this film. So,
and it's a good scene too. The build up, the way he's running through the ballroom, and like all the cops or the Secret Service guys, whoever they are, like all riddling him full of bullets, and he's running in slow motion, trying to get the flamethrower out of the duffel bag and all that. The elbow he gave the older cop in the gut kind of was a little iffy. But yeah, it's a great scene. And then the senator grabs Clu Gulager's gun and is joining in the action, just riddling the shit out of McLaughlin with bullets. But he does get close enough to let off the flame. I kind of like that head tilt, too, that the alien did. I know that's like a cliche, like, villain moment. But I kind of liked it because he kind of I don't think he clearly knew what the flamethrower was that he was pulling out. Great dummy too, don't you think? That's burning up.
Yeah,
I love this part where the dummy's mouth opens up, almost Larry Cohen-esque, Stuff-esque. Then the alien comes out. Thankfully, everybody's too distracted from the alien to see that McLaughlin's going to shoot him with the laser now. And I love when the alien blows up, Trev, it makes like that weird like Star Wars TIE Fighter sound of like then it explodes. Great animatronic there.
I just kind of wish, like, if you wanted to get extra goofy there, I kind of wish the alien, like the little slug thing, said something before it died.
Yeah. I could definitely see that happen. Now here we have the emotional climax where Michael Nuri's on life support, probably not going to make it. Kyle MacLachlan's also all shot up in the hospital. I'm kind of curious, like, what do you think McLaughlin's status is now? Did they arrest him after that, or did they kind of be like, oh, we just gotta wait and figure out what to do with this guy because he killed the senator, but the senator did have a giant squid alien inside of him.
I think you'd still have to arrest him. The general protocol on this would be, and this is the kind of guy I would have thought a sequel to get into, right? Is like, the government like kind of shutting this down, coming in and denying, and like if nothing else, he'd be a patsy.
Yeah.
I mean, I would assume the conference is being filmed, so you have on film. I don't know if you caught the slug, but you definitely caught him burning a presidential candidate to death with a flamethrower.
The flamethrower, yeah. Yeah, there was like a lot of reporters and shit.
He's certainly allowed to walk around this hospital, like.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. He wasn't handcuffed to the bed, nothing. Yeah, Nuri's finally dying, and we have to assume this is. Well, I don't know if the Kyle MacLachlan yellow light alien came to Earth as just yellow light, or if he was in a body before he took over the Kyle MacLachlan body and did this. But he's actually able to go into a. Whereas the other alien can go into a body, but if it's dying, he needs to get out. Like, he can actually, like, resuscitate. Like, he has that Rey Skywalker ability right here to resuscitate and bring life back. Yeah. And I have to say, like, because, like, they kind of play in the earlier scene when he goes to Nuri's house. They kind of play that the daughter, right? Like, she kind of knows something up is with Kyle MacLachlan. It's like that weird kind of genre movie psychic kid thing. And then when Kyle MacLachlan, the alien, goes into Michael Nuri, it seems like the little girl knows, like, something's different or whatever.
Well, and that's why, like you said, the thing. So where I slightly disagree with you, and again, it's just botched in execution, but. You said you didn't like the idea of in the sequel of the daughter growing up to be a cop, but I think like the most interesting thing about the sequel and the reason I wish the sequel was good is the relationship between a daughter and a father who she's now realizing for years has not really been her father, right? Like that's a compelling idea. It's unfortunately a piece of crap movie.
No, I totally agree because I read the summary and I was like, oh, that's like, exploring that or whatever. But then when it got to the point of like, well, you see, the alien before he got blown up, he actually laid some eggs. I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't get down with that. But it's just weird, too, that you like, you make it, because I want to say the sequel came out like on the video like 5 or 6 years later, and then you instantly jump like 20 years into the future just for the simple fact that you want to have the daughter be grown up now. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the little.
And they also introduced like a new like good alien partner too, which felt like fairly unnecessary to me. I thought you could have just run it with the daughter and this alien teamed up.
Yeah, like I think the new ones play Raphael Sabarge, and I think they even named his character McLaughlin in the movie, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody's named McLaughlin in the sequel. So it's kind of good, kind of ends like the alien got killed, but unfortunately the hero kind of died too. But then he resuscitated. So it's a nice bittersweet ending because, as we know, the real, Detective Beck, Michael Nouri, died. So I can definitely live with that downbeat ending. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because it's tight. It's like one of those things where it's like, is it downbeat? It's just strange enough that it almost like warrants discussion, which you don't often get from like B monster movies, right? Like you kind of don't know how to feel about it. And I actually think that's fairly admirable for a movie of like this type.
Well, it's kind of funny too, because it's like there's an advantage for both parties. Like, Michael Nouri, he died. Like that couldn't have been avoided. He got shot too many times. He died. But then it's kind of like, because they set up earlier that the McLaughlin character, he had lost his wife and daughter. So now he gets a new wife and daughter to take care of or whatever. But then the bittersweet thing is, like you said, this woman doesn't have a real husband anymore. This little girl doesn't have a real father anymore. So, like you said, it is kind of, kind of leaves you in a weird place and keeps you thinking.
Mm-hmm. I just noticed in the credits that one of the it said Agent Fowler is played by Ted White, who's of course Jason and Friday the 13th Part 4. Yeah.
Yeah. If I went through, I could probably tell him apart. I kind of know what he looks like. But yeah, I saw that too. I thought that was interesting. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the hidden. I'm glad we could hit this one. I mean, I honestly feel like this is one we should have done like 2 or 3 years ago, because it's just definitely a must list. If we mostly cover 80s and 90s flicks here. And
it's one of those movies that I'm sure you agree, Goat. It's just like, it's definitely found its cult following, but it bothers me that it's still not as big as I feel like it should be, because I feel like I'm constantly talking to people who don't know about this movie.
Yeah, come on, fucking Fright Rags, get on it. Where are our our $38 hidden T-shirts and hoodies that we should be buying right now? Like, I would totally buy one of Chris Mulkey standing in front of the Lamborghini holding the bags of money and the shotgun. So yeah, are you? I know you're a few years younger than me, Trev, but did you grow up on a steady diet of New Line Cinema B flicks?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I was tracking them all down, but I mean, you and I both grew up with just the video store era in general. So, I mean, my primary genres to rent from were sci-fi and horror. So I mean, I definitely. I think at some point, my local video store, which was just like a 4-minute walk from my house, I feel like I rented every horror movie on those shelves at certain points. So I kind of worked my way through the entire category. I don't know that I can necessarily remember and point out which ones were New Line and which ones weren't. I guess typically the ones Lin Shaye popped up in, it's a pretty good sign, but
yeah, all through the 80s, it was New Line with the Freddy flicks, and then just little things like this, and then in the early 90s with shit like House Party. I was just seeing the shit out of New Line things, and then even in the late 90s, they had the Chris Tucker flicks and the Rush Hours and stuff, and I don't know, man. I just think
everything
they probably are for people that are 20 years older than us and stuff, like Joe Dante or whatever. The way they look up to Roger Corman is kind of how I admired New Line Cinema.
Yeah, I feel like because we've gotten really good documentaries and about canon films and stuff, and I feel like we're kind of due for a New Line kind of documentary at this point.
Oh,
I think there's an entire generation that primarily thinks of New Line. I mean, even though it's people will always call New Line the house that Freddie built, and that kind of people just primarily think of that. But I also think there's an entire generation that just thinks of New Line as the Lord of the Rings company.
Yeah.
And yeah, for sure they were around for. I always kind of tend to think, maybe you do, of like, I was giving New Line credit for being one of the first companies to really understand what DVD could be. Because those like New Line those platinum edition DVDs were always great, you know, in terms of like really loading them up with extra features, and even for something like, you know, like a movie like Willard, which was not a hit in the theater, but they still packed that DVD with like special features.
I think New Line was really interesting too, that they were willing to take over genre things that you know, kind of had like run its course at other places. Like they took over obviously Jason. They took over Leatherface. Like, they were willing to, like, you know, oh, like, you know, somebody else doesn't want this anymore. Like, I'm sure a lot of it had to do with the success they had with the Nightmare on Elm Street and all that. But, like, they were willing to, like, kind of resuscitate shit and keep it going for a few more years, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Yeah, and like you said, a lot of people think of, you know, when they think of New Line, they mostly think of Lord of the Rings. But, ironically, that was actually what caused the death of New Line, pretty much, was... Once Time Warner was... Well, New Line was an independent thing, then it was absorbed into kind of like Time Warner, and then Time Warner was absorbed by AOL eventually, and the AOL people, because they were just all bean counters, they looked at, you know, the commitment that Bob Shaye had very smartly given to Lord of the Rings. I can't remember exactly what the figures were. What it was like, the reason they shot them all back to back to kind of save money, but it was like something like $130 million for 3 films or something. And they just look at that and said, "Oh, that's horrible." They literally cleaned house and fired everybody out of New Line. "Oh, you spent too much. There's no way we'll make our money back." And then like the whole kind of AOL era of Time Warner ended up being so damn disastrous. For many years, like going, like the only thing that was keeping anything going in that company was Lord of the Rings, ironically. So these people got fired for making this huge investment, and then it was like the only moneymaker that the studio had, and the company really propped them up for years. So very ironic and sad, the story of New Line Cinema, and you know the time from when they, I want to say maybe they sold to Ted Turner, and then Ted Turner said to Warner, whatever them circumstances were. I just really wish there was a way that Bob Shaye could have stayed independent. You know, I'm sure he needed the money or wanted the money, but I wish it could have, you know, and the New Line that exists now, like occasionally you'll see a lower budgeted Warner Brothers movie come out for the New Line stamp, but I don't really understand like who's making it, or it's like a zombie New Line.
Wasn't like Shazam like a New Line film? And it was like, why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I mean, one thing I do know for sure is like none of the original people that built New Line, they're all long gone, and they've been gone for a long time. So yeah, very sad. But I'm glad New Line existed to give us stuff like Nightmare on Elm Street and Critters and The Hidden, House Party, and all that kind of good shit. So
and even into the 90s, you know, they give us like, you know, things like Seven and
Seven,
the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies, and like
Ninja Turtles, Boogie Nights, like they were in a weird way, you know how like Disney is like buying up all these properties. New Line was kind of like one of the original ones that would be like, oh yeah, we'll absorb these properties or license them or whatever, you know, to bring this. Well,
and for me, and like I think. I like to often point out when people talk about New Line, one thing that really gets forgotten about them is we probably have them to thank for Jackie Chan finally getting into America, because they were the ones who did Rumble in the Bronx, which was the one that finally broke him here.
Yeah.
And they actually co-produced that film with Golden Harvest. And so they were like, you know, he was trying for years to become a star here and had some failed things. And then they actually somehow figured it out, because I remember being excited for Rumble in the Bronx coming out, and like I felt like it had like a lot of marketing behind it, and it actually was a big hit. And then that's the moment where he finally got broken in the States too.
And especially more early on, but New Line didn't just do like genre trash. They did some stuff like I was surprised. The first Whit Stillman movie, Metropolitan, that was released by New Line. Like they released a lot of ethnic films too, Hispanic films, whatever. Like they just were good at like I would say in a lot of weird ways, like they were kind of like the original Miramax. Like they balanced some kind of like a critically acclaimed quality movies with like the genre shit, you know, to keep them going. So yeah, man, I think that's one of the saddest things of my lifetime as a movie fan, is watching New Line cinema disintegrate. But fortunately, nothing lasts forever, Trev.
Yeah.
So anyway, what have you been up to in the world of podcasting besides showing up here on the Movie Graveyard?
So I still have my my regular X-Men podcast. So if people want to hear me and my buddy Joe just talk about all things X-Men, we hit on the movies, the comics, the video games, the cartoons, and kind of everything in between. That's a Days of Future podcast. So we put out about 2 episodes a month. We've been we thought we'd be doing our New Mutants episode this month, but
well,
the episode we've been teasing for years now. But someday we'll get to it.
I feel like you need more pots in the podcasting fire, Trev. I think you should have more going on. I remember you had an empire at one time. You had If It Bleeds, We Can Kill It. You had the X-Men show. I feel like you need something else. Are you empire?
Yeah, well, maybe I shouldn't say this because nothing's official yet.
Okay.
But
give us a scoop.
There's been some talk, and I don't, like I said, we haven't officially planned this or anything yet, but there's been Bird and I, so the Bird who's a frequent guest in the show as well, and so Bird and I used to do If It Bleeds, We Can Kill It. We've started to have early discussions about maybe bringing that back as a monthly show and primarily having every month's episode be concentrated on a different filmmaker or a different franchise and just kind of doing like full like retrospective episodes. So I think if it does come back, that's the format it'll come back in.
I think that would be some good shit, and I think a lot of the listeners of the Movie Graveyard would enjoy that. So, everybody, thanks for always being, consistent with listening to the show. Just like the whole mission of this show to shine light on these forgotten flicks. Believe me, it makes me smile when I look at the download numbers and I see how many people are interested in these same films that we are, Trev. And if you guys like the show and like to help us out, leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts or anywhere else you can. We really appreciate that. Helps get our name out there. And also too, if there's a place, any of the places you go that will like let you type shit in, I love to see a lot of the comments, the reviews we've gotten over at Apple, Trev, because like a lot of people let us know what episodes they liked. So that's kind of nice too. And it's surprising too. Like we had one guy like the Chocolate War, another guy really enjoyed that we did Class of 1984, Trev. So yeah, leave us a review because I actually read them and I actually have kind of shifted the focus to try to get into these more obscure gems because that's what the listeners seem to like more. So.
Yeah, and I'd also say maybe recommend movies to us that maybe because I know every time we decide to do another one of these, half the battle is us figuring something out. So maybe tell us some movies you'd like us to do, and then we can look them over and think about which ones actually appeal to us. So that we actually have something to say about. So we appreciate all the feedback you guys can give us on those reviews. Trev, again, I want to thank you for not only joining me, but for coming through and suggesting that we do one of my favorite movies of all. This movie for sure is in my top 10, possibly my top 5. So this was a real treat and a gift. I appreciate that from you, man. Cool. Yeah, thanks for having me back. It's always a good time, so we should definitely not wait as long for the next one.
I agree, man. Like time flies, but yeah, last one we did is Christmas Eve. We'll have to not go whatever it's been 4 months in between. So welcome back to the show in 2020. We'll have you on again soon. Everybody else, thanks a lot for all the support, and we'll catch me and Trev or somebody else. We'll catch you next time in the Movie Graveyard.
You're listening to the Electronic Media Collective Podcast Network. Yeah, it's a mouthful. For more great shows, visit electronicmediacollective.com.